Welcome back. We're ready to take this base mesh with some mandible pinchers and eyeballs and do a more quality sculpt on it. So we did a lot of conceptual sculpting. That was the early ones. We did some early paint jobs on there, played around with color and pattern. But now we want to finish this thing. We're like, okay, we've explored and done the concepts and time to get these exported. So we're going to go to the move tool and we want to be real sure that these pieces we're going to export separately are on the same pivot point and they've already been scaled and frozen. So just reminding each one of these one at a time, file, export selected, make sure you've already frozen it, deleted its history, it's clean. And you can have multiple objects sharing the same UVW space if you want. Right now you're going to go back and you can fix this and you can change the UVWs and there's a lot you could do still. Uh-oh, hope it didn't crash. Yeah, Maya just crashed. All right, very cool. All right. So one thing you can do here, I took my best of, so I got the skull of the fox, I got the mandibles and the bristles of the antlion, I got the backside to show the ear muscles, and some close-ups here of the nose, and I put them on a gray gradient background. This is how one way to work. And in order to do that, what you can do is go to your display size and make sure that whatever image you make, so this one's 3840 by 2160, so whatever works for your monitor that you're using in production. So once I made that the size, you see I made it exactly the same pixel size as my monitor that I'm working on here. I then added the images from PureRef, so I just have 1, 2, 3, 4 images, well, 4 corners, multiple images collaged onto there, and if I need to, I can shrink this down, but I really want to see like the eyelid, eye socket, the nose, the shape of the snout, how narrow the snout gets, where I'm putting these mandibles in, coming out from the side of the jaw, by this underneath the cheekbone. Gonna make some room in there. So after I did that, I went and I saved it for the web, right? And made sure that it was a JPEG and kept the same size, and I put it in there. And when I go to Sculpt GL, you can load it in here. So I go background image. So here's the environment, here's background, here's the ambient environment, which is pretty nice as well. But here's the image, so where you can go and load it. You can import your image here, and there it is. So you don't want to do the PSD file, I wanted to do that one, so that should be all right. Sweet. Now I might go back and lower the opacity on these, but it's not ZBrush, so we'll do as much as we can on here. So let me reopen Maya and show you how to import that. So scene, file, import, add object. So I'll go back into the Morlock folder I'm working out of. There we go. And I have the, so I got the quadruped. Let me see the newest ones here. Eyeball, here we go. So I have the quadruped head with base with the ear, and not the material though, you want the OBJ. So there we go. There's our base head. Still looks pretty nondescript, very neutral, right? But you see it's starting to come into shape here a little bit. I was having a hard time getting the snout to be narrow enough, quickly enough here. Like you see the skull there, that really brought me back to earth. But let's bring in the other one. So let's add the eyeball. There we go. And it went right into place. And let's also add the mandible. I have some other, I wanted to add the antenna and the ears, didn't get time to do that, but I'll come back to that. Mandible OBJ, there we go. So no color is going to come across here because we're just using Sculpt GL, but you can use that with other applications. Okay, so there we go. W, I could just switch between. Now on a W, I can't change the eyes. So one of the first things I want to do is get the eyes closer together. Now I can't move them here, even with symmetry on, but what I can do is I can go out of E, I can go to the basic, so I can go to the 0 move and get like a really big obnoxious radius size, and that way I can bring these eyes in substantiate, because they're going to need to come in a lot. So I could tell already. I really, whoa, just happened. Don't know how I did that. But yeah, so if you look at that from the front view here, the eyes, there's going to be a great narrowing happening here on the front part of the skull, at least, from the top down due to the eyes right here, and the cheeks come way out here, which means I'm going to bring the cheeks out farther, even farther from the mandible. Um, and then there's not too far from the ear and the cheekbone right in there. So let's take a look at that. So W, and I have, they mask automatically the other parts, which is nice. So I can get in here, and a lot of this can be done. Oh, be careful, don't click on the eye. A lot of this can be done with the move brush. So I'm just kind of getting this as close as I can without touching the eye. And this is way, way easier still than, say, I've got to get used to working on the other side. It's way, way easier than working in Maya. So at least it's that. There we go. And just kind of nudging around, looking at these reference pictures here, and then see if I can't get the eyelids at least close enough where I can start sculpting on it and doing some detail. So there we go. So yeah, it's going to happen a lot, unfortunately. It is what it is. It's free. I keep reminding myself of that. And so I think just getting the overall dimension, if I don't get, I'm probably doing exactly the opposite. What I would suggest to do is like, don't go in and start doing that, things like eyeballs right away. But in this case, the eyelids were so far off to start with that I kind of have to. Symmetry should be on by default. There we go. I can look at this though. I can look at the snout here, and I can look at the snout also from the top down view from over up here. And I can see that there's really a great deal of um, nudging around very carefully. I don't want to accidentally touch the mandibles or the nose as I'm doing this. Now you could do this in Maya. You could bring in image planes as well if you wanted to, but I thought since we have it UV'd and we could paint it and kind of push the concept some more, that this would be a fun way to tackle making these adjustments and changes to the form. So I'm looking at the jawline down here. You can see underneath here, it probably can come up some more. There we go. And then from the front, it's very narrow right in here. So that part for sure, we can grab and bring these in, and hopefully the fall off doesn't start folding in on itself with the mouth cap. If it does, we could just detach the mouth cap and adjust it a little and reattach it. So I don't want anyone to fret about that too much. This is the biggest change right here, I think, is this part that goes back across from the mandible actually worked out pretty good. And yeah, it's almost like a caiman now. Like you see the nose is quite a bit too long in relation to the proportions of the eyes. So I can bring this back and then grab this and bring that one back too. And it's working pretty well. Nothing off too bad yet, but now I can really detail this thing with my stylus, which makes it a lot more enjoyable. There we go. Yeah, that's better. The ears, they really should come out more. So now that we got some decent ears to play with, whatever I end up doing here, though, I'm gonna change again because I'm gonna add the antenna tip coming out the top front here. But I like the curvature happening here. So on the outside, so I can start doing some softer stuff, and it does a pretty good job, I think, going from if you mark on there's thin places, and if I start to sculpt on this on the brush, you want to be careful. You want to be careful to make sure that thin face front only is turned on. So if I start getting around these edges here, and we can subdivide the topology, right? So I could divide one 2. There we go. And now I'm getting, look at this beautiful, see, I'm getting this beautiful curves here. And now I can really go in and start making an accurate eyelid, since I have an edge loop geometry that goes around. It's not spiraled. It's not, all messed up. So right away, you're going to see that this is your final sculpt. You're not sketching sculpting anymore. You're not, learning how to use the software so much. You just get to go in and design your critter. So yeah, it's going to turn out really nice. So back in here, but with the thin right here with geez, where'd it go? Thin surface vertex front only. If I'm doing the ear here, I want to make sure that's on. So if I go around, say right here, this front, it's not going to accidentally grab the ones behind it, and vice versa. If I push this in and go here along the edge, it didn't grab anything. Oh, it did grab something behind. Look at that. I lied. It does a better job though. That was better. So yeah, so you can kind of thicken up some of these edges around here. As I talked about, we don't want the vertices crumpling at this point. I can go in here to the ear hole itself, and I can take a look at some of the reference, although there's a lot of fur that blocks inside of here, so we might end up putting some alpha planes, but you can see right there, it goes down. Here's the ear holes way down here by the side of the cheek. Um, but yeah, I go back to the front brush, and I can bring the cheekbone up here. Here's the cheekbone right there. Orbital comes up really high on the side of the head. So from that point of view, I think I had missed bringing that in, and the cheek comes way out here too. So again, I'm careful to touch the surface of the head before I accidentally touch the mandible, and that works pretty good so far. You see I got that edge lip that goes perfectly around. So even though he's got a lip there, this guy's got like some extra beefy cheekbones, right? This orbital is going to come up here like that and go back down again for the ear hole. And so we're planning ahead for that now. There we go. And now it's looking a bit more like a fox. The snout's still a little bit too long, I think, but that could be part of our. Now, if we're doing it on purpose, though, that's part of it. That becomes part of the design, right? So there we go. So I can, whoa, that was really strong. Let's maybe lower the intensity of that brush down so I can more gently press with my stylus. So pressure sensitivity on the stylus is on, right? There we go. And yeah, when you're done, you can save out the higher subdivision. I'm at 20,000 currently. I can subdivide 2 more times. I'm at 325,000 pretty comfortably. And I can also choose which one I want to use to as my final low poly model to rig or animate or bring into my video game. So I go back down the subdivision. There we go. So this is at subdivision 2. It's still at 5,000. If I go down to the very lowest one, which I started at, that's my low poly cage. I would say both. Like when I'm done, like whatever moves I do on this, I would try to save both of them. Let me get nice and big here and bring the snout back even some more. Maybe not too bad. I think right here is the main thing. Like it really slopes in a great deal here and here. And nose does, whoa, does come to a little point there. But it's nice having the images in there if you're not using PureRef. Thought that would be useful for everybody. And then the way this comes up underneath the neck here. Now I can always save this. I mean, you're in the browser, right? So be super careful. So of course, you want to save it as you go, constantly down here. Save the SGL, export an OBJ as you're going along. But yeah, I think I'll record the next videos, and this is going to start looking like nearly done. I can add the beetle detail on the tips of the ears. I can go to the sides here with a nice big brush, and I can really kind of widen out as it is in the reference here. I can start shaping and sculpting the detail of the ear, like this little curl up in here. Now that we have the edge loops just right, we can go in there and we can do stuff like that without worrying about the edge loops. So I'm at the lowest polygon. There we go. And if I go back up to the highest polygon, all the detail's still going to be there, right? It's not going to damage or get rid of that detail. So I hope this stage is helpful to you. Let me just hop back over to Maya and double check, how to do the export portion. Is the easiest part, but my Maya crashed. Okay, as Maya crashed when I was showing this, be sure when you open up your auto backs, when you go file save scene as, it's not going back to your autosave folder. Make sure you're indeed going back to your scenes folder. And oftentimes I will give it an extra number just to make sure that nothing disastrous. Just sometimes just figuring out what you might have missed out on over an hour or two period, which technique or which thing you did can hurt. So just a reminder there. Okay, so what I was saying before the crash was that if you open your UV editor, and you can have different objects share the same UV space, right? So if I marquee drag across here, there we go. I've packed them together, even though they're separate objects, and I'm going to take each of these objects and close that, and going to do a file, export selected as an OBJ. There we go, and there it is. There's my, I did the eyeballs, A01, I did the mandible, O1, I did the quadruhead base with ear, O1. So there we go. I think that's about it. If I am happy with the basic sculpting on this, I can also um, finish it up and then bring it into Painter for final materials. And then after that, then we would rig and animate it, and we'd have like a full-fledged creature slash character ready to rock and roll. So I'm just looking at this, and I'm going to go in here and start really sculpting on this as much as I can. I think down in here, getting, yeah, there's gonna, it jumps quite a bit without having ZBrush or Nomad Sculpt. It will, they're not on locked layers, so you just got to be really, really, really careful as you're doing this. But yeah, overall, I think pretty happy with that. It has a bit of a brow that goes back across here. So I'm just going to kind of finish up a few of these major edge loop movements that I started doing in Photoshop, or I mean in Maya. So for now, I can actually finesse this just with my tablet, whereas the tablet doesn't really work very well in Maya or in Blender. So there we go. I'm trying to get this brow ridge here. Let me see how well this is going to go. There we go. So you can see the edge loop here kind of jumps right from there to there. So these are the ones where, as I was making changes, it's like, okay, this is something I'm definitely going to fix when I get over there. So I'm kind of making sure I do these first before I get caught up in eyelids and the tear ducts, right? Like get the basic shape of the skull finished up correctly. There we go. I'm gonna go underneath the eye socket here. You can still pull that forward, and then this one I can come back here and still pull it out and back. And being really mindful, I'm gonna count the edge loops, make sure that the edge loops are counted correctly. Let me go underneath here and continue to, I keep hitting my bracket keys, bring in the snout shape that I want. And I imagine once I'm done with the full anatomical study of this, I will be changing the actual mandible size and placement as well, and getting rid of that alligator snout. That helped a lot. There's still a little bumpy right there. And if I go shift key, see it's still really intense on the smoothing. I can just kind of lower that down so that as I smooth this, it kind of relaxes that down a bit. So yeah, get all your basic, do your sculpt. I'll record some stuff for you all later. And that way you can kind of see what decisions I'm making at the nose, at the nostril. But yeah, this is the uber fun part. Here we go. 300,000. I can get in there. I can take a closer look at the nose in here. and see if we're ready to bring that ridge up and around. Whoa, go back to the regular brush. There we go. But I like to try and get this stuff done around subdivision level 3 or 4, though. If you start jumping ahead too fast, it will you'll be doing detail before the major form. So I'm constantly trying to control that urge and get in here and make sure this nose is done at least close to correct and not, this one's right now is a little too bulbous still, kind of comes up a little bit. But yeah, I'll see you on the next video. All right, take care.